Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to pick number 17 of my favorite 30 rock solo albums of all time. It's the show we're doing here each and every day this month in November 2023. 30 days in a month. Our 30 favorite solo albums from notable folks who played in fairly notable bands and one often did a solo record or maybe did a bunch of solo records, and we're picking our favorites here, right? We're not doing solo bands, right? Folks who came from a big band and created another band, and maybe their name in the title, maybe not, but it was their band, right? Going forward, these are more just solo albums, right? So here for today, for pick number 17 is the debut solo album from this particular musician and singer, released October 1st, 1982, recorded at Soundworks Digital Audio Video Recording Studios in New York City, also in Automated Sound New York City, and Village Recorders in Los Angeles, California, produced by Gary Katz for Warner Brothers Records. I am talking about The Nightfly from Mr. Donald Fagen, of course, from Steely Dan. What a great album. What a great sounding album. One of the great sounding, pristine sounding early digital recordings, and one of the, of this era, one of the most spectacular sounding albums. We often talk about how great sounding like Asia is by Steely Dan. I would say next to that album, this is maybe the most impressive sounding album from sonic perspective in all of the Steely Dan and Steely Dan related catalog. I mean, this is just you just listen to this, just crackles with energy, and every instrument, every note perfectly audible and crystal clear, and just a really, really great sounding album with some spectacular performances, I might add. So this, followed the Gaucho album from Steely Dan. Things not going so well between the Steely Dan duo of Walter Becker and Donald Fagen. Walter was going through lots of problems in his personal life, drug issues and things like that. So they kind of split. Donald decided, well, I'm going to go do a record. And in similar Steely Dan fashion, he basically puts out an album that doesn't really sound all that much different from classic Steely Dan. And like Steely Dan, enlists the help of all sorts of his musical friends to help out on the album, including, Dave Bargeron, trombone, Michael Brecker, tenor saxophone, Randy Brecker on trumpet, so the Brecker brothers are here, Ronnie Cooper, baritone sax, Rick Derringer, Larry Carlton on guitars, right, James Gatson on drums, and Anthony Jackson on bass, Hugh McCracken on guitars, Rob Mounsey on keyboards and synths, Greg Fillinganes on electric piano, Jeff Porcaro, drums, let's see, who else? David Tafani, alto saxophone. There's so many people. Dean Parks on guitars, Chuck Rainey on bass, lots of different backing vocalists too. I'm just trying to pick up most of the instrumentalists that I mentioned. Rick Derringer, I think I did. James Gatson, I think I mentioned him as well. Who else? Marcus Miller on bass. I mean, just all sorts of players. There's Steve Kahn on guitars, Marcus Miller. I think I mentioned Marcus Miller. Let's see. And of course, Mr. Fagen on lead vocals and all sorts of keyboards, right? Steve Jordan on drums, Will Lee on bass, Leslie Miller backing vocals. All sorts of people on this album. And it's a good one. It's just filled with just some wonderful songs in this kind of like laid back, like very rhythmic and groovy pop, jazz, rock thing that Donald Fagen and really Steely Dan did so well. Starts off with the irresistible IGY, which is just a great, great song, and IGY stands for International Geophysical Year. It's kind of like gathering of scientists, people who get together and try to make the world a better place. What a beautiful world this could be, right? That's just great song, great chorus. Just the grooves are so good, right? Green Flower Street's another one, a little faster paced, groovy, jazzy, funky, awesome. Ruby Baby, Ruby, just so good. The grooves on this album are undeniable. Maxine is another terrific song. Then you got New Frontier, again, funky, jazzy. It's kind of rock, but kind of not, right? The music of Fagen and Becker and Steely Dan, just like, it's really its own sound, which is really unique. The title track, The Nightfly, is really good. Okay, I think that's kind of what the cover artist exemplifies, the Nightfly person doing the night shift, right? At the local radio station, right? The Goodbye Look, also really terrific. And man, the rhythms in that song are so good. I love the tastefully done guitars throughout this album. This is not as much a big guitar album as like some of the Steely Dan records are, where you have these just epic guitar solos and real melodic and tastefully done lead breaks from the various players. I mean, there's that on here as well, but this album is just more about the songs and all the guitar players that appear on the album, tastefully dropping in these nice little melodic solos when needed, but it doesn't go overboard one bit. And then Walk Between Raindrops, one of the sleeper tracks on the album all the way at the end, also really, really good. Some really nice keyboards on this album too. A lot of electric piano and organ, acoustic piano, right? Some nice synths as well. Just really good stuff here. This is a very, very enjoyable album. And to me, this is like the unsung, unofficial Steely Dan album that deserves to be in the catalog, because I like Fagen's other solo records, but I think this one just sounds like the Steely Dan album that would have come after Gaucho. And I would argue that it's stronger than Gaucho. And maybe would have been a perfect follow-up to the Asia record, but not to be. It's a Fagen solo album. So what do we got as far as charting positions on this one? Australia, number 19. Canada, number 25. Germany, 56. Dutch charts, number 16. New Zealand, number 9. Norway, number 6. Sweden, number 8. UK album charts, number 44. And the U.S. charts, it charted on 2 of them, right? So we got on the top rock albums charts, number 8. And on the top R&B charts, number 24. So I guess we had those delineations of different charts as we move into the 80s here. And on the certification side, UK, this went platinum. Interesting how it only made it to number 44 in the UK, but it went platinum, 300,000 units sold. That's pretty good, considering not a real high charting record. And in the United States, this also went platinum, 1 million copies sold. All right, pretty cool there. And as far as the singles released, we got a bunch of singles that came out for this particular album here. IGY, What a Beautiful World, released September 1982. New Frontier, released January 1983. And Ruby Baby, April 1983. And this would be followed up 11 years later by Kamakiriad, right? So it taken quite a while. So Fagen and Becker kind of weren't doing not very prolific throughout the rest of the 80s, and then eventually, of course, getting back together later on as Steely Dan. Once again, we've got a couple of Steely Dan albums that have come out post Gaucho, but many, many years later. And like I said, Fagen actually has a couple as well. So, and Walter does too. So anyway, there you have it, everybody. Let us know what you think of this album, The Nightfly, down in the comments below, as well as your pick for today, pick number 17. And visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all together, all the damn time. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before we leave. Also down below, we got the links to our Ko-Fi page for channel donations, our merch page where you can get all sorts of cool Sea of Tranquility stuff, and our Cameo page if you'd like me to do a personalized video for you. That's all available at the links below in the video description. And thanks for your support there, and we'll see you real soon here with more stuff. Stay tuned. Tonight in the Prague Seat, it's album study week once again. We're going to take a look at the great Opeth album, Damnation. So for those of you who like the more pastoral, proggy Opeth with lots of acoustic guitars and mellotron and soaring lead melodic vocals, that's coming up for you tonight. So stay tuned for that and more here on the channel. Of course, tomorrow also is new review day, so we got some new album reviews for you as well. So lots happening, as always, on the sea. Till then, I'm Pete Pardo. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye.